Luca Guadagnino on Call Me By Your Name.
Everybody all together?
Amira. Timothée.
Everybody, Armie. Okay, so now everybody please a little bit to the front and come all together. All together and maybe 2 rows.
Yeah, maybe 2 rows.
Let's do 2 rows and all come together.
2 rows, should I go in the
Yes.
Okay. The tall ones in the back, small ones in front. Closer together. Okay. Please, everybody here. Over here. Hello? Please, everybody.
Can you all look a little bit slowly move towards this direction that we all have?
Yes, nice. Go down.
Down the front, please.
Everyone over here, please. Over here.
Fotografi qui in alto.
Alright, okay, so now please the actors with the director.
Just actors and director. Lovely.
And again, a little bit to the front, please. A little bit to the front. 2 steps forward, please. Just 2 steps forward.
Come a little bit further. A little bit further. Yeah, here we are. A little bit, yes.
Okay. Grazie, s'il vous plaît. Mama, look straight ahead, please. Big smile.
Please, here. Down, down. Here. Please.
Look here, please.
Please. Down. Just the ladies.
Alright, so now please, ladies only.
Just the ladies.
Ladies only. Just have a step forward.
Yes. Okay, this
Come on,
way.
please act like
Ladies,
it.
left together, ladies. Turn here. Yes. Left together. Look here, everybody. Same view. Yes. Straight on. Ladies to the corner.
Start here and then slowly move towards there.
Slowly, no. One in front, please. One down the front, and then down right down the front.
Together here.
And you're right. Turn to us.
Thank you. Now all men, please. Three men, please.
Me too?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay, 1 step forward, please, and then start here. 1 step forward, and then start here. Guys. Start here, and then slowly. Thank you.
Yes, please. Okay, this way.
Gentlemen here. Here.
Okay, this way.
Here.
Here, here.
Can you look down?
Hello.
Look up, please. Okay, first row, please. Gentlemen, back in the corner. Thank you.
Okay, exactly.
Okay,
Perfect.
out. Now the men, please. and the same way. Start here.
Okay. Straight up,
Carry on with the corner cable, guys, and your hands. Look up here. Perfect.
Okay, single. Timothée, let's start.
Okay, this way, down. This way, down.
A meno che non sia d'altre parti soldi. Questo è anche vero, però. No, non sai.
Armie, one more time, looking up to me. This way down. Okay, down there. Down.
Baby down.
Everybody.
You've never seen me crack a walnut with this thing.
Luca, get it
Left, please.
I mean, really that kind of thing. Okay,
thanks to you. Luca, this way. Luca, please, Luca. Again. Luca.
What does the shirt say? Yeah.
Luca.
Straight up.
Subito, calma.
Amira Casar.
Quindi dipende.
Esther in the corner. To the left. Okay.
Straight along. Yeah. Down.
You missed us. And this one the top place. This one the top place. We get right, please. Okay, this way. And I see you down. This way. Don't smile. You want some water?
Io ho mandato le foto di lui foto di fuori con dietro al Berlinale. Non so se ce ne mando una successiva lei avrei fatto il giro. No, così. Arrivati i comunicati, sì, esatto.
So, thank you very much. We can start the press conference of the panorama film Call Me By Your Name by Luca Guadagnino. I would like to introduce first our guests. The first one is André Aciman, the author of the novel. Peter Spears, producer. Esther Garrel, actress. Amira Cesar, actress. Casar, sorry. Armie Hammer, actor. Timothée Chalamet. And the director, Luca Guadagnino. So welcome to everybody. If you agree, I would like to ask the first question. Luca, if you think about the audience for this film, so what do you have in mind? What are you figuring out?
I come to understand that this is a movie for families. It's a family movie. It's like this, like Disney movie. It's a movie about, not about four. I like to think that this is a movie for the transmission of knowledge. So I like to indulge in the thinking that maybe it would be nice to see people of different generations come to see the movie together.
Okay, thank you. Maybe you have already the first question. First one, sunglasses on the right side.
Thank you. Isaac Tilly from New York, Argentina, but in New York. First of all, I would like to address to Mr. Aciman. I've read all your books, and I always wonder when, not without concern, when they're going to be translated into film. And I said concern because your book should be read. See the film, but don't miss reading the books. They are experiencing themselves. Nonetheless, I wonder whether you were influenced by psychoanalytic thinking when you wrote these books, because you have such a way of entering into psychic domains that it's marvelous, and whether you work in the adaptation of the film, and also whether you're thinking about a sequel, using your latest book as a sequel to Call Me By Your Name.
There is no sequel, really. Each book has a life of its own, and but of course it's the same writer, so there are obvious overlaps. As for psychoanalytic treatment, no, but I like to think psychologically, and of course one of the greatest influences in my life has been the French tradition of the roman d'analyse, where all you do is investigate and excavate characters' motivations.
I think we have another question there.
Yeah, Hannah Baal, Berlin Film Journal. Thank you for a wonderful movie that really touched me. It was the first movie that touched me this festival, I must say. And I wondered about the soundtrack, because you have such a great choice of songs in the movie. How did you choose them, and did you have them in mind when you made the movie already, or was it something that came during the process later when you cut it?
The approach to the movie from the filmmaker perspective, we wanted to make the movie as simply as possible and to really avoid the invasiveness of the medium as much as we could, in order for the story and the characters to breathe and the flow of life to be in the movie, the real protagonist. For the music, though, we wanted to also achieve a different kind of things. One thing was to accompany the story through music, and in order to go with the flow, we chose to work with piano pieces from John Adams to Ravel, Debussy, Sakamoto, Schoenberg, in a way a kind of selection of pieces of music that are possibly in the imagery of the character of Elio in the film. We also wanted to try to reconstruct and to pay homage to our own adolescence by putting in the radio, in the televisions, pieces of music from the times, from pop Europe to punk rock, from the psychedelic furs to Battiato. And then during the working on the movie, the process of writing the film went from me and Ivory writing the script to me and Fasano, Walter Fasano, the great editor and writer of this film. We went through the process of trying to understand how we could encompass the wonderful André's work with the voice of Elio in the book, how we could translate that in something cinematic, how could we use the figure of a narrator. And at the beginning we thought to use a sort of omniscient narrator, a third person, like in the magnificent Ambersons or in Barry Lyndon. But the more we work into this direction, the less I thought it was a good idea. And we then thought of something like a sort of musical commentary. And that's when Sufjan Stevens came to mind, because his music, he's like one of the greatest songwriters in America, and his themes, the approach to emotions being so unsentimental but so raw, and the beauty of his music and the voice of Sufjan felt for me a perfect envelope, like something that could really embrace the movie. And we were lucky because we approached Sufjan asking him to make one song, and we went away with two plus the imagining of Futile Device for piano for the film.
Hi, Alessandra De Tomasi from Italy, F Magazine. I would like to ask to Mr. Hammer, how did you relate, personally speaking, with the feelings that Oliver has in his first love? I mean, the tenderness, the fear, the butterflies in his stomach, all the stuff. Thank you.
I mean, I certainly related to it in a lot of ways, and I think that that's one of the great things about this film, and specifically about the way that Luca was able to execute it, is that there's something in this that all of us can recognize, because desire and yearning and craving are sort of baseline human emotions that we've all felt. In this case, it happens to be between these two characters, but really this could be anybody. This could be anybody's summer. And I think that we're able to sort of tap into those primal emotions that people feel, you know, the desire specifically. And I think it's very relatable. And I think that that's hopefully going to be one of the things that helps this movie sort of cross those boundaries and be relatable to anybody, regardless of, you know, however they feel.
Two questions. First, to Mr. Guadagnino. You are a wonderful director. I would like you to say a few words about your work with your cinematographer in this film. And a question to Peter. In this film, we have Brazilian blood also, because there's a production with arty features. If you could say a few words about your work with Rodrigo Teixeira and his group.
You want to go?
We had, when I say we, I mean the people we work together making films. It's a group of people that without whom any movies would be possible. No movie would be possible. And we had the privilege of working with Sayombu Muktipram, the masterful director of photography of Api Chaptong Verasatekul films. A few years ago, when we did a movie that I produced, directed by Ferdinando Cito Filomarino, called Antonia, and that experience made us discover not only a wonderful master, but also a person that had the capacity of being on set in a way that actually it was really, I never experienced. Because I believe that the director of photography, and I think they can confirm that, it's really the point person for you to understand how to react to the camera and to feel completely unbiased by any structure, right? And I think that Sayombu brought a lot of looseness and really truthfulness for them to be. And the movie was it's a summer movie. And we shot it in last May, a few months ago, and it was like the most rainy month of May ever in the region of Crema. And it was a disaster. But thanks to Sayombu, you don't see that. But the rainfall that is in the movie, it's a real rainfall. So we had to do something, we shot it. And Peter.
Well, I would say from the first time I reached out to André back in 2008 about optioning the material, there's been something about this book, this material, born of your genius, that has just brought everyone to it and bring their most personal work, and it seems to have no borders. The book has been hugely successful in all its translations around the world. And the same was the case with the screenplay. We, in America, had this screenplay, and then it was Memento Films came on board from France and as partners. And from there, RT Features from Brazil came on board. Obviously, our director of photography from Thailand. So it really was a universal endeavor to help spread this universal message that just everyone seemed to get behind and bring their best work to.
John Anazzaro, first of all, I want to congratulate the director for this masterful achievement. It's really an impressive film. And two quick questions. The first, in the film, it seemed that the spirit of Jean Renoir is somehow looming. I couldn't help but thinking of Une partie de campagne all the time. And then the second question, the last shot. It's not a question I would like you to comment on it, because it's such a powerful statement. The last shot of the film, it blew me away. So thank you to you and to all the cast.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Partie de Campagne is one of my favorite pieces of cinema ever. And I return to it as much as I can, for the pleasure or for studying it. And being a Bertoluccian, I am a Renoirian. The final shot, it's another homage to the French cinema, probably, because when I saw the end of Un condannato a morte partito, I don't remember the title in French or in English, the Bresson film about that, the fugitive. And then there was another great film by Paul Schrader, which is The Light Sleeper with William Dafoe, which we hold his gaze for 5 minutes. And I thought that Timothée was the same height. And in fact, I think that thanks to him, that shot is meaningful.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
No,
it's okay, it's okay.
Okay, my name is Mahari Sigid, African Refugee News. First of all, I have to say, I saw this film in January because Panorama gives us the chance to see the films before. And I was waiting for February to see it again because it's really a masterpiece. I want to know from both of you, from the author and from you, how was it to write it with James Ivory? Because, Morris was at top in 1987. So 20 years later, 30 years later, you come with this fantastic film.
It's this movie has been made as a real, it's a labor of love from Peter Spears, who started this project many years ago. And everybody associated to this movie, from the first to the last one, joining the circus, we all participated for the pleasure of doing it. And really, it was never like a job. And particularly to the script stage. I met Ivory many years ago. We became friends. He's a man of incredible generosity and curiosity for life, and it's like the most informed and curious person I happen to think about. And he came to Crema, where I live, and one day we were talking about this movie because we were into the middle of this movie for long, going in other directions. And one day we just sat on the kitchen table in my house and snapping peas, we said, why don't we try to make our version of it? And then along came Walter, and we kept snapping peas and writing. And now we are here at the Berlinale. So we feel privileged. Thank you very much.
My name is Elena Lingo. I represent Independent Cinema magazine. First of all, I would like to thank film director for choosing very beautiful actresses and handsome actors. It's also important. And I would like to ask you, why did you decide...
I totally agree with you. I want to sleep with all of them.
That's great. And my question is, why did you decide to become a film director? And who inspired you the most, and what inspired you the most? So what did you want to achieve when you first decided to become a filmmaker?
I think a director never knows what he wants or she wants to achieve. I think that for all its tactics and technicalities, filmmaking is an intuitive work, and it has nothing to do with making plans. As far as I remember, I always thought of myself as a director. I think that, I said that other times. I remember having seen the Lawrence of Arabia on my mother's lap in a huge fascist cinema in Ethiopia where I grew up. And I remember I was like 5, and you can imagine what is the effect on the imagination of a young boy, a kid, in front of David Lean, and since then, watching the lights hitting the screen, I was wondering and trying to understand how did it work. I'm still trying to figure it out, but at least I try to make it.
This is Mariana Chotra from Move It Mad, Greece. First of all, I too want to thank the director for one of the best and most wonderful love stories that I have seen in film. It really touched me. It was one of the greatest films I've seen, like ever. Okay, so yeah, I loved it. So
not counting Alfred Hitchcock.
So my question is, this was a movie full of sexual energy, vibrant with lust, desire, but you chose all of the sex scenes to be cut right before the actual, sex scenes. So I want to ask why this choice? I mean, you wanted to shed more light to the feelings of the actors, who I also want to thank for such wonderful performances. Did you want to shed more light to the emotions rather than the lust? But okay, so this.
I think we did what we wanted to do, honestly. We didn't have, again, we didn't strategize. But I also think that because the genre on which I encapsulate this movie is the idyll, which is not a genre. I invented the genre for the film. I don't see much organs in an idyll. So I think it was more about the effusiveness than the actual acts. And I feel that the most important thing was to show intimacy. And I believe that all of them, in the way they interact within one another, either sexually or non-sexually, they show intimacy. And I think that was the most important thing.
Maybe we have other questions? Yes? Okay.
Excuse me, but I have to go back because you said you come from Ethiopia.
Yeah.
I come from Eritrea. But no, because when I tell people that when I was young, I used to go to cinema and see really beautiful films, they say, well, in Africa, in Eritrea, you saw this film. So thank you, because, we have the best theaters.
My mother is Algerian, and she grew up in Morocco, and Morocco of the 60s was like beyond any kind of modernism that we can live now. And Ethiopia, I remember as a vivid society, also from the storytale that I get from my family.
Yeah. Talking back to the film, when the film starts, you deceive us because I thought he was having an affair with the father. As soon as he comes, you see this awkward scenery, like the mother and the father is there.
But everybody falls in love with Oliver.
Well...
as everybody falls in love with Armie Hammer, no?
I just wanted to know if you really put that, or it's just an impression that I had.
Well, it's about that. It's really like I think that Oliver is an awkward person in the right place, and everybody falls for him, but he doesn't know why. I mean, I like the way he unfolds, and maybe you should add something, Armie.
No, go.
I said everything.
Other questions?
Valentina D'Amico from Italy. I'm curious to know something about the representation of Italian people in the movie, because it's a very international movie. But when Italians speak, after 5 minutes, you'll kill them, especially the couple during the lunch with the protagonists.
I kill them?
She would kill them. She would.
Everybody, because they
I love those people. First of all, a little nod to Marcos Grosso and Elena Bucci, amazing theater actors who came so generously to do that scene with us that day. It's all the people in the movie are somehow comes from my imagination and also from my life, from my reality. It happens that, I think the movie is specifically about the end of the 70s. And 83, in the movie you see Craxi, you read Licio Gelli, you see Beppe Grillo. You are witnessing in the movie the end of the extraordinary experience of the 70s and the beginning of the homogeneity and the conformity to mass thinking. But we are, in a way, showing a group of people who are untouched by that. There was no interest nor intent to create any kind of caricature about it. I know Italians think that I do caricatures of Italians, but maybe I'm biased, but I know a lot of Italians that are like the Italians in my movies, to be honest.
So, generally speaking, we could also say that in this film you are dealing with a general Italian identity, but maybe you are looking for an Italian identity which is disappearing, so it belongs to the past.
Yeah, I think that we really had to adapt. We had to find that rural way of showing the Pianura Padana, the Lombardia, because there was a lot of editing choices, not just in the editing room, but also when we filmed, in order to avoid showing what has become of that world, how gentrified has become, how the peasant culture has become more and more little bourgeoisie culture and consumption culture. And yeah, it is like, I think, and I'm interested to hear from André his perspective of Italy, depicted also in the book, because I feel that Italy is no more, and in a way, that Italy was very wise.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Totally gone, yes.
Would you like to add something to this?
To the fact that it's gone? I think that the Italy that I wanted to portray was one that had absolutely no truck with politics. There was no mention of what the economical situation was at the time, but it was certainly an Italy of people who are kind of comfortable. And I don't think people are this comfortable nowadays. And there was also servants who did what servants do. And nowadays, I think their role has changed. But I wanted something isolated from any contact with the real world. I wanted to focus just on two individuals who are very attracted to each other and who fall in love, possibly for life.
I just wanted to say that even as performers in that Italy that we were filming, there was a sort of melancholy that the parents sort of transported and carried around in them, because for us, I think very much for my character, I felt that it was an end of an era. And I felt that. And I think that Michael Stuhlbarg felt that. We felt very much that it was a privilege to dip back into that side. It was not that we were playing nostalgia, but there was definitely a melancholy of, yes, it was better yesterday. It was.
So we started speaking 10 minutes ago about the music of the film, and I think it's a good opportunity in order to talk with Elio or Timothée Chalamet, so in order to understand a little bit more of this character. How did you work with this, and also how did it start? How did you work with the music?
Well, thankfully I had somewhat of a piano education growing up. I had maybe, let's say, 4 or 5 years of experience, but I hadn't played in a long time, so there was a real gift in the pre-production process that I was able to come out to Crema early, which is where we shot the film and where Luca lives. And I trained with a composer out there named Roberto Solci, who's a masterful Italian composer, and he, checked his ego and was happy to work with almost a beginner. And we worked together for an hour and a half every day, and we tried to get those piano pieces up to the caliber that they would have been for Elio in the book. And then as an aside to that, Luca texted Armie and I one day, and he said, we have new music from Sufjan Stevens for the film, come over. So Armie and I came over, and he had us in his huge living room, gorgeous speakers, and we all sat down, we listened to the 2 new Sufjan Stevens songs that are in the film, and we were all left speechless by the end of them.
If I remember well, you started talking was about Busoni, Ferruccio Busoni, who is an Italian composer who lived in Berlin for many years at the beginning of the century. Yes. Yeah. Okay, maybe you have other questions? Yeah.
Rajiv from CNN India.
The microphone, please, because we need it for the translation.
Rajiv from CNN IBN India. It's a question that either Luca or Timothée or Amira could answer. At the end, when Elio asks his father, does mother know? Was he referring to his own relationship with Oliver, or was he talking about the revelation that his father just made? Because it seems very unlikely that the mother had no idea until that point about what had gone on or the relationship that these 2 men had had.
I will reply like Mr. Perlman says, I don't know. Actually, he says no. I say I don't know.
I like to leave it open too.
Okay, maybe Yes.
Good question.
Hi, Giulia Bianconi for the Italian newspaper Il Tempo. To Armie and Timothée, how did you work together to create a feeling in this movie? And only to Armie, is it true that you want to direct a movie? Thank you.
Well, again, there was a real gift in being able to come out to Kramer early, about 4 or 5 weeks early, in that it didn't feel like we had to fake the relationship. We were able to, you know, they say experience is the best teacher. We literally just spent a ton of time with one another, 3 or 4 weeks ahead of time. And when it came to the weekends or after shooting, if we wanted to hang out with another American, it was going to be each other. So whether it was Mike Tyson documentaries or espressos in the morning, we were together almost every second we weren't filming, and I would hope that the chemistry that's so palpable in André Aciman's book, we were able to capture some of that and put it on screen.
We basically did together everything that we did in the movie. We rode bikes around Crema. We listened to music. We talked about.
There were some things in the movie that we
didn't do.
Right.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, we both are people who take our jobs seriously and really appreciate the opportunity that we had been given, and we appreciated the fact that we got to work with not only Luca, but also everybody else who we all, revered as so talented. So it was an amazing opportunity, and we just took it seriously, and that helped. And yeah, I'd love to direct a movie one day. Yeah.
I think we have time for the last ultimate question. So you have a big responsibility.
Hello, this is Pierpaolo, Festafilm.it, Italian, Luca Guadagnino. This is the Suspiria question. I would like to ask you, the more you were approaching to this new project of yours, the more there were talks about not doing it, why doing it. So please, you tell me something positive. What drove you to this project, and why the need to do something scary now? Please.
I'm resisting to answer your question because it's Call Me By Your Name time, and Suspiria is like in a space and in a place that is so yet to be finished that I don't know how to answer your question, to be very honest. I think that there always is the need to fill pages, and if you can create a polemic, it's good to fill the pages of a newspaper. And so I think that the Suspiria impossibility of reimagining that great Dario Argento film, it's an exotic concept to me. I just don't understand it.
Okay. I think we have time for the real last question, so related to the present.
It better be about Call Me By Your Name.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Beatrice Fiorentino from Italy, and the question regards... Oh, sorry. I'm very sorry. I would like to know something about James Ivory's contribution in the process of adaptation.
Yeah, as we said, we worked hand in hand with James and Walter Fasano on the script. We sat on the table kitchen and we tried to squeeze the essence of André's masterpiece into something that could speak the language of cinema. And I hope that André doesn't feel disappointed with it.
Also, there's a real gift in, I think, I was involved with this project over 3 years ago, and I think I took 2 trips upstate. Yeah, and I stayed with Mr. Ivory in Claverack, where he lives, 3 times. We went through the script just to make sure we were all on the same page, and we actually watched Morris together, and I got a thematic kind of breakdown of what would be included in Call Me By Your Name and how those films would contrast.
Okay, thank you very much for attending this press conference, and thank you to our guests. Bye-bye.